Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome everyone to this Employability World Tour event focusing on job search in India. I am Floriane Lambert. I work within the EM Lyon alumni team at EM Lyon Business School, and I will be your moderator today. Thank you for joining the 5th session of our new series of webinar, the Employability World Tour. This series of monthly webinar is a world tour to meet EM Lyon alumni and recruitment experts around the globe, and it aims at presenting the employment specificities in 10 different countries. We already organized 4 webinars covering 4 countries: Morocco, Germany, the United Kingdom, and China. If you are interested to watch the replays of these webinars, they can be found on our EM Lyon alumni platform. These webinars will all take place on the 2nd Tuesday of each month until July 2022. They are free of charge and open to students and alumni. You are most welcome to join us for this world tour to cover these 10 destinations together. So today we will focus on employment in India. And I would like to say a big thank you to our 3 speakers, Ashu, Pascal, and Ashley, who will share their expertise and knowledge of India with you. To finish, just a quick note on the technical aspects of this webinar. We kindly ask you to stay on mute during the speaker's presentation. However, feel free to open your microphone during the Q&A sessions. If you have any questions during the speaker presentations, you can also write them on the discussion box, and I will put them down at the end. Feel free to open your camera if you want, so that our speakers do not feel too lonely. And also, please note this session is being recorded, so it can be shared with our students and alumni who could not attend the webinar today. So now I would like to turn to our speakers who will introduce themselves. So women first. Ashu, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Florian. Good evening, everyone, and it's lovely to meet all of you all. Just to give you a background, I'm a corporate commercial lawyer based out in Mumbai. I head a corporate commercial law firm, Ashu Thakur and Associates. I speak French, so I advise a lot of French companies on their business activities in India. I'm a British evening scholar, as well as I have got a scholarship from the Lions Club of France as a student. So I very well relate as being a student in France. So I can completely understand how we have students coming to India. I'm on the board of the l'Union Internationale des Avocats. It's an international association of lawyers. And I'm also a Goldman Sachs 10,000 women entrepreneur. So happy to be with you guys and help you in any way and to take this forward. Thank you, Ashley and Pascal and the entire team of EM Lyon. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Ashu. So I think now we have the introduction of Ashley.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Ashley Fernandez. I'm a French-Indian overseas citizen, so I come close to what is dual national in India. I am currently the president of a small boutique counseling firm consulting firm in France. And I'm also, most importantly, the country head of EM Lyon India. We have currently 2 campuses in India, one in Bhubaneswar in collaboration with Xavier University over there and the government of Orissa, and another one that is coming up in Mumbai in collaboration partnership with St. Xavier College. And therefore, our footprint in India is becoming very significant. Thank you all for being here. And if you need to, or if you want to know more about me, you can probably check me out on LinkedIn. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ashley.
Thank you very much, Ashley. Thank you, everyone. So I'm Pascal Risser. I'm heading Salensia in India. I've been here for 9 years now. So just a small presentation of Salensia. Salensia is a family-owned business. It's 5 billion euro turnover. We are present worldwide. And I'm just displaying a few of our brands we certainly know in France, but in different countries, we do adapt to the markets. So this is mainly cheese and cream and butter. So in India, we had to adapt ourselves, and we have a fairly good business. It's not in retail, it's in food service, in QSRs, for it to be more exactly, because India is a young country, and we'll come to this later, but India is the #1 dairy country in the world, but it's not a cheese country. So Indians are coming to cheese through the QSR, which are Domino's Pizza, McDonald's, people like that. And we are expert for this kind of cheese.
Thank you very much, Pascal.
So we have as well somebody who is in contact and specialized for the contact with EM, and I'll be very glad to share her contact with you. She's called Marine Petit, and she will answer all your questions, queries, if you want to do some training periods, whatever, or find a job. We're more than open to answer you.
Thank you, Pascal. Thank you very much. So now I would like just to show you the webinar agenda. So we will have a first part dedicated to the employment situation, industries, and employment trends. So like an overview of the Indian job markets. Part 2 will be dedicated to job interviews and the cultural specificities in India when you're looking for an internship or a job. And the part 3 will be our top 3 best advice to job seekers from our speakers. So let's go to part 1. So Pascal is going to share with you the employment situation, industries, and employment trends today in India.
So a few reminder, India is already the 5th economy of the world, before UK and France, and has a fairly good perspective, because only 30% of the population is living in cities today. Just to compare to China, which is 60%, and France, 80%. It means that the next 20 years is going to be a big growth in all the cities. So they are going to have the needs for managers and investment. Today, we always focus on China. China is the manufacturing place for the world. India is the office of the world. Most of you don't know, but the back office, all the big audit firm and banking are done in India already. So it means that the expertise in this domain for services is very strong. The good part of India versus other countries such as China is that in business, everyone is speaking English. Well, it's not everywhere, but at least you can talk and you can live your professional life in English. The spirit of the Indian spirit is really to be an entrepreneur. And we can say that we have 1.3 billion of entrepreneurs in India. It's very much different from what we see in Europe. Here, people are really entrepreneur born. When you come to India, it's not one big country. It's 28 states who are rather different from each other. For example, the state in which my factory is, right beside New Delhi, it's one of the biggest in India. It's the biggest of India. It's more than 200 million people living there. So it's the size of Brazil. And just to give you an idea of what it takes to vote there, we are going to have some elections soon. It takes 1 month to make the 200 people, well, 100 million people to vote. And it takes 24 hours to get the results. It means that you have a lot of people. It takes like a lot of time to have them voting, but the IT is very efficient. All the cities are totally different. So Delhi is a very large city, very open. It's more administrative. We have a very big new city called Gurgaon. It's about the size now in terms of economy as Mumbai. Mumbai is more a financial city. Bangalore in the center south is the IT capital of India. So each time, if you come to India, you have to think where you want to establish yourself. Domains, this is most of the of course, IT, as I said, services for sure, and infrastructure. So it's a big market for airspace. For example, Airbus, they are going to deliver one Airbus per week, for the next 10 years. It means that the volume of this market is huge. But for most of the infrastructure spending, this is going to be a big market for the next 20 years. That's all I have to say for the moment, before the questions.
Thank you, Pascal. Ashu is now going to share with us some immigration advices.
Thanks, Florian. Just to give you an idea, India is placed at the 63rd rank out of 163 economies in doing business World Bank report. So it has moved up. It used to be 170. Close to one. There were 180 countries earlier which were evaluated. We were way down. Now we have come up to the 63rd position. So this makes it makes it very easy for people to do business in India, as again for a lot of other criteria. Just to give you an idea of how many students have arrived in India, if you look at this little data over here, right from 2016, we've been having close to 72,000 up to 75,000 students coming every year on student visas to India in the last 5 years. Even during the pandemic, the very aggressive 2 years of the pandemic, that's 2020 and up to 2021 November, we had close to 20,520, literally 24,000 students in India on internships and student visas. So this is something that everybody is very keen to come and explore the Indian market as students, as interns. And if you look at this chart below that, we have foreign nationals on employment visa in India. So we'll see, if you will have a look, that there is a lot of people from Korea in India, close to 23% on employment visas. We have Japan at 19.06%. We have China, that is 8.65%. So if you look at it, the first three big countries is Japan, Korea, China. So that is because there's a lot of manufacturing activities done of these companies in India. So they have their employment visas, they have their staff coming and working out in India. Then we have US around close to 5%, and we have France practically 4.5%, and the balance are the other countries. So you will see these are purely on employment visa. This does not cover your business visas. People come to India even on business visas. So this information is from our Ministry of External Affairs. This is the latest updated information that we have with us. So it's very important to share it with you guys. Yes, we can go to the next slide. This is just to give you an idea of immigration law in India, as in what kind of visa regime do we follow in India. So students looking to come to India, or even people coming to work in India on business or employment visas, we have the e-visa, that's the employment visa. It can be valid up to 5 years, or your minimum period of your contract, depending what is your contract tenure. Then we have business visas, similar duration, and we have dependent visas. Your spouse can get a dependent visas. So that is for 5 years as well. And if your spouse wants to work in India, we'll have to convert that visa to an employment visa. There's a little process to get that done, but that can be done. And in addition to that, we have intern visa. So when students want to come to India, they can come in on internship basis. So that visa could be valid for a period of 1 year. You need to be, your gap between your graduation and post-graduation cannot be more than 2 years. And the minimum amount, the stipend as we call it, that we need to draw is around $12,000 US in India, that's per annum. In addition to that, France also offers a similar program for various countries, and India is one of them. This is the V program of France, which is a French International Internship Program, wherein you can come and intern in any of the countries listed in the V program. So India is one of them. Your duration of internship could be between 6 to 12 months, and you could work on the similar stipend. Your salary remuneration has to be up to $12,000 US. So the V program lists out different salary structures for each country. And in each country, it has gone to the extent of listing out what is the minimum in each city where you work. So a minimum maybe $3,500 or $2,000, depending which country, which city you are in. So all those details are there in the B program. And basically, after getting your visas in place, the only thing that you need to do is just come here within 14 days, register with a central body, which is the Foreigners Registration Office, within 14 days of your arrival. And now with digitalization, this process can be done online as well. So extension of your visas, if you overstay, there's any other issue, these all things are now being taken care of digitally. So there's a lot of movement in India to facilitate foreigners, students, people to come and work in India, do their business in India. So this is just giving an overview on this, and happy to take any questions if anybody has in this regard. Thanks.
Thanks, Ashu. So before we switch to part 2, I would like to give the opportunity to our audience to ask any questions. If anyone has any question that they would like to ask to our speakers, you can either open your microphone or write your questions in the chat box. Do you guys have any questions?
Pascal and Ashu have been very, very clear.
Okay, no worries.
They will ask later.
or students or alumni are very, very shy, depending. I don't know exactly yet.
Part 2 of this webinar is the cultural specificities of India in job interviews. So Ashley.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Pascal. Thank you, Ashu, for this very interesting introductions. Yeah, as far as the cultural specificities of India, I think there are, as far as I'm concerned, there are 3 main subjects. First, you know, the subject relating to time, space, and relationship, a very, very important subject on inclusion. And also, I would like to point out that if you are going to India, if you're looking at India, you need to decenter. And I'll come back to that later on. As far as time, space, and relationship, I like this quote. It's, you know, India will teach you patience if you don't have some, and will take it away if you have any. I think it's a very, very important aspect, and I'm sure that Pascal and Ashu can relate to that. It can be sometimes frustrating when you deal in the Indian cultural and economic environment. So you have to sometimes have patience. And you have to deal with, as I said, the level of frustration that can build up. It will test you to the core. There's something else that's very important. It's on the funny side, what I call the Indian stretchable time. It's not the Indian standard time, it's the Indian stretchable time, which means to say that, you know, time has a very different meaning when you look at it from a French and Indian perspective. So sometimes things can stretch a little bit. Meetings can take some time to start. In other words, people can be late, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a very, very important factor. You can play with it. You can you can use it, but it's something that you need definitely to keep in mind. Another, and I think Pascal said it earlier, in India, it is very, very important that you get to know people, because to do business in India, to relate to people, you need to first go along and then you get along. You need to know the people, you need to relate to the people, and then you start talking business. For the French audience, what I meant by it's the it factor. You know, the je ne sais quoi et le presque rien de Jean Kelevich. So it's something that is there, fuzzy, intangible, but it's definitely at the very essence of any relationship that you can have in India. Pascal said it, it's true. India is a very large continent. It means if you look at India, it's, you know, basically it's France to Russia and Norway to Tunisia. It's a very populated country. Gujarat is the size of France. Its diversity is a given, and it's very dense in the metro cities. The reason why I'm saying that is because you have a sense of congestion. You have a sense of diversity, and it is very, very important that you have that in mind when you look at the Indian fabric and you look at the Indian ecosystem. And just a last point, for me to stress is the Hofstadter scale. I will not go into that. There are some links later on, so if you want to dive into that. But basically, in a nutshell, India has a top-down structure, is more collectivist than individualist. There is a great sense of material success, but at the same time, there's a lot of spirituality, as you know. India is more on the acceptance side, rather than being sort of really worried about defining what will happen. So they are more on they're more comfortable with the VUCA or the BANI aspects of life. In terms of long-term orientation, karma is very, very central to the Indian fabric. And last but not least, India as a society is more on the restraint part of the scale, and will not indulge too much in desires or impulses, and will, as I said, there's a lot of peer pressure. So that's something that is very important to keep in mind. Inclusion is at the heart of any model in India. You know, it's a very populated. There's a lot of pressure, labor intensive. It's a lot of family business around there. So inclusion it's on everybody's agenda. It's on everybody's mind. Jugaad is something that is really, really, really interesting. You know, Pascal said that you know, there are 1.3 billion entrepreneurs. Actually, it's just, you know, everybody's figuring out a way to make it. Some will fake it until they make it, but most of them are trying to make it and figure out a way to deal with, as I was talking about it before, with this volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous situation. So there is a lot of débrouillardise, as I would say, that you know, is part of the Indian culture. And from my perspective, the economic model that works in India is high volume, low costs. Because to a certain extent, I know Pascal is over there, but to a certain extent, given the fact that inclusion is important, that labor intensive models are a necessity, to a certain extent, we need, every model is looking at creating a platform where they can distribute as much as possible and at a lower cost. But that's open for discussion, Pascal. I have no problem with that. If you go to India, obviously people, planet, profit are very important, but you must also have the fourth P in mind, it's purpose. You have to decenter your way of thinking and include purpose in your narrative, in your behavior, in whatever you talk about and whatever you do. Because if you forget that aspect, I think it would be it would be something that you would miss as far as India is concerned. And what I meant by see with a different eye is we are all educated to see with our own culture, okay? And we can only see what we have been taught to recognize. So this is a challenge in India, because sometimes if you do not decenter, if you do not open up your mind, you may come across things and you will not leverage the opportunity that's in front of you. So that's what I meant by see with a different eye. Try as much as possible to look at things with a different perspective. And let me just share one last thing, and I'll finish with that. A long time ago, when you guys are probably too young to know about that, but in the 80s there was this Solidarité movement, Solidarnosc, and I was in political science, and we were pretty much into all this. And I happened to travel to India, and I was expecting to have that conversation in India during that time about Solidarnosc, what was happening in Poland with the war, etc., etc. And I was amazed at the fact that no one was talking about it over there, because it was not in their reality. And this is what I call in my Solidarnosc movement, because every time now I go to India, or I go elsewhere for that matter, I try and figure out what is the gravity, what is the center of gravity of that space. And I think that's something that is important for me to share with you. If you go to India, figure out what is the fabric, what is the center of gravity of that ecosystem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ashley. Pascal, would you like to share with us your views of the cultural specificities as a French expatriated in India for a long time? You're on mute, Pascal.
Ashley has covered quite a good part of it. What I must say that when we come to India, it's a big change with what we see in Europe. So the first thing is to respect the people, listen, and as you rightly mentioned, Ashley, to understand what are the values and what the people you're talking to are expecting from you. And most of the time when we come to India, we don't do that very easily. So it's very, very important. There's a big cultural gap, which we don't see because people are talking in English. So it's very easy to talk to the people and to establish a contact, but this is just a surface. So it's important that really you need to listen to the people, never really contradict frontally because we are in Asia. And be a little bit stubborn in what you want. It's important that when you have an objective, you stick to it. Even though it seems that most of the people are going to make it change because, of course, here things are different, but stick to your objective. That's how you succeed. You're going to succeed. Indian likes to share personal information, especially when you start to establish some contact with them. It's important for them to know you better, to be confident. And for that, you have to enter this sort of personal bubble they have. And if you go inside this, of course, you will have to give them some insight of your personal life. It's always a little bit strange, but this is the way it is. So that people will gain confidence into you. You are not hiding anything from them. This is not a complex country. Most of the time when you come to India, you say, oh my God, this is very complex. It's not true, not more complex than anything else. Anywhere in France, it's complex like this. So you have to be resistant to the apparent not understanding your environment. It will come. And as already mentioned, Ashley, but we have to insist on that. You are never alone in India. It's you have everywhere, anywhere, you are going to be surrounded by people. So after a while, you are very used to it. And this is when you come back to Europe that you're wondering where the people are. In terms of climate, transportation, you have to anticipate because this is an emerging country. It's moving fast, especially in the cities. So the infrastructure is not always there, or I mean, they are building the infrastructure, so it causes a lot of hurdles in the traffic. And the climate is not easing the situation. So you have to be careful about this environment that is not pressurizing you when you are entering the country. And the last advice I must give you, you cannot enter or contact anybody in India without a prior introduction. Nobody will talk to you or receive you if you are not introduced by anybody, but somebody who the person is knowing. So for example, if you want to apply for a job, you need to go through somebody who knows the person. It's going to be, unless this is the French company hiring, because I've seen the question, but most of the time you need to be introduced to the people. And just to follow, because I was not willing to interrupt you, you're right that the market is a mass market with low price. But I like very much, because this is not that easy to tackle this high volume, to say this is not a mass market, this is a market for the mass, which is totally different in the attitude you have to have. Absolutely. Because in a way to touch the mass, you have a lot of ways to do it, and you can do it with premium product as well, as long as the people believe in the quality or accept what you are proposing them. Because already we have in India about 150 million of Indians who are living at same level as European. I mean, middle class of European. So you can create some very good business here as long as you are really good in what you do.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Pascal. Ashu, would you like to share with us the cultural specificities?
Just to add to what Pascal and Ashley has taken us through, I mean, in India, we have the one main thing which you guys, I think English is widely spoken in India. However, we have close to 400 languages and dialects in India, of which 22 languages are mentioned in our Constitution of India. And English is very widely used. So no matter where you go, I mean, you will have the English language, somebody to help you out. Most of the places, so you'll be able to get around with English. In fact, French is also, you'll be surprised, there are many people who speak French in India. So that is something excellent as well. As regards the work culture, we usually have a 6-day week in India. Sometimes the MNCs which work in India, they usually follow 5-day weeks. There was one gentleman who was a French national who was here in India. He was working in Gujarat, the state what Ashley mentioned is a small little, I mean, it's the size of France. So when he was the senior management of an MNC and he, under the employment contract, they said you can come to India, but Gujarat is a state where there's no, it's a dry state, there's no alcohol typically over there. So he said, you know, in entire contracts, email, it was mentioned it's a dry state. So it was okay with it. He was fine with it. He said, what was not mentioned in my contract was it's a 6-day week in India and not a 5-day week. So that was something very important for him. And he was surprised when he came. He's a very senior management person in India. And then additionally, I mean, the work culture, then we have, in India, we give a lot of respect to our seniors, our whoever's elder to us. So we address them as not by first name, whether it's work or on personal level. We would call them as maybe, if it's a personal level, it'll be more aunt and auntie as such, or uncle, but that's how we are. On the work front, we would call them as sir or madam, whereas against America, or you look at overseas, you will address them with their first name. So that is something very peculiar to India. It's basically to give a lot of respect to our elders. So that's how we follow it. I mean, additionally, I mean, in India, a lot of foreign nationals who come here, they get completely pampered. We have a good amount of support staff, which is there to help out. So in fact, one of my friends, he was in a leading French bank in India and at a senior level. So he had to go to work and he had a driver to himself. He said he's never been pampered with a chauffeur-driven car in France, whereas in India, he had a chauffeur-driven car for himself. And initially he said, when I'm in France, I can just hear whatever music I want. Whereas in India, when my driver wanted, I had to hear that music initially. So then he got used to hearing Indian music as well. So that's how you slowly get into the culture and start interacting with locals and make yourself comfortable. I think that's very important. So the work culture in India, how you interact with the locals is very, very important. Additionally, what I want to point out to you is the LGBT community is now gaining a lot of recognition in India. Initially, it was a taboo, but now it has. So in fact, it's a lot of the facilities what regular people have. It's not something which is earlier, which was illegal, is now being recognized and promoted. In fact, a lot of organizations have gender neutral policies and they have policies to support LGBT, offer them jobs, and that's been something fantastic. In addition to that, I mean, just for your reference, I mean, way back, I mean, I have j'ai gagné une bourse à Lions Club de France. It's been close to 30 years. I'm talking 30 years back when I was a student and I was in France. I attended a marriage of like a couple who were concubines. I mean, they were live-in partners 30 years back and they had a child. So now seeing that in India, which is now becoming 30 years from there, today, India is recognizing les concubins also. So these rights are evolving and these things are taking place and to some Western cultural, concepts which were very distant to Indians. In addition to that, India does protect its women at workplace. So we have enacted a law in 2013 wherein women at workplace are given rights against discrimination. So tomorrow, I mean, if any organization has women employees as well, if there's any discrimination made out to them, they are protected. There are laws, there are provisions, there are committees who will help you, overcome any discrimination, remarks made against a woman, or if she's harassed sexually. So this is something which is not there in France. I was just mentioning, we have, working closely with French employment lawyers as well. There's no law as such to specifically protect women in France as such, whereas in India, we have a law which protects women at workplace in India. So that is something we need to be aware of. When women come to India, they should know that, yes, there is something to take care of them as well. So that's my take on these cultural specificities.
Thank you, Ashu. Thank you very much for sharing these very interesting insights from India. So now we have a few questions on the chat that I would like to ask you. So maybe question for you, Ashu, regarding the immigration advice that you shared earlier. So Tom is asking, is the annual income statement that you shared earlier still include the revenues and assets outside of India?
No, it does not. I think you have to get that amount of money to be in India. Typically, when you're on an employment visa, it is $25,000 US. 12,000 US dollars is for interns. So that you need to generate that money to live up to the standard of living in India. That's the minimum you require in India. So it does not include your foreign assets or foreign income.
Okay, thank you. Tom, I hope this answers your question. If you need more information, feel free to open your microphone. Otherwise, we can switch to the next question. So a question about recruitment, more specifically. So can you please let us know which are the French companies who are hiring at the moment right now in India? Pascal, do you have any idea?
There are many of them in India. There are many ways to do it. For example, I hired somebody from France to come to India. He was a trainee in one of our subsidiaries, but I had the contacts through LinkedIn. Telling you who is hiring, there is no, it's going to be quite tough to find them. So, and it's going to be easier if you go to LinkedIn, for example, or to the website of all the companies who are already in India, and you have all the major infrastructure company already here, and contact them directly in France, because I'm pretty sure it's going to be tough to contact them, to contact a company directly in India, and, unless you have some experience of India or some technical experience which will be interesting for a company. So I think the good step is to contact the companies in France first.
May I add one thing? I'm on the board of the Indo-French Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and we at the Indo-French Chamber have a recruitment arm wherein a lot of French companies approach us for jobs, and people from overseas who are expats or willing to come to India can float their CVs to the recruitment arm of the Indo-French Chamber looking for jobs, because there are a lot of French companies who want locals who are situated in India, and if they speak the language, that's fantastic. Or if somebody in France or overseas wants to apply to come to India, that'll be a good place to kind of, get in touch with.
Thank you, Ashu. That's very useful to know.
I was about to say the same thing. I think the Indo-French Chamber of Commerce is a great place to look at, and you will get a lot of information over there in terms of what sectors are booming and what is the level of cooperation between France and India, and that will give you a lot of information on how to project yourself and how to be more efficient in your job search.
Okay, now maybe another question for Pascal. So Pascal, Gaurav is asking if it is mandatory to have a dairy and food background to work for Savencia. And
it depends what you want to do.
And can he get referred for a role in France? He has 9 years of sales experience in pharma
you
sector.
You can write to me. I will direct you to someone in a group. For sure, you speak French, I hope. But yes, Marine Petit is the contact for them. So she will be more than happy to put you in the loop of all the recruitment we have, because we have quite a few recruitments. So we can recruit. If you have a technical background, it's of course very interesting, because most of the time we lack international profile in technical backgrounds, but we are hiring a full scope of people, be from marketing, sales, everything. And maybe one day you'll be sent to India.
Thank you, Pascal. A last question, maybe before we switch to part 3. Sandrine is asking if there is, I'm sure there is, but how is the ecological concern in India? Maybe that's a wider question, but interesting to keep in mind when we want to go to India.
The ecological, as in she means the environmental concerns. Is that it? Yeah,
I think so.
As regards to ecological concerns, we have very strong environmental laws in place. And in fact, this is something which is evolving. We have an environmental tribunal which kind of evaluates everything, to the extent we are getting metro lines done in Bombay at this point of time. There was a case filed that while doing the metro underground work, a lot of trees were cut. Okay, so the matter was filed in the Bombay High Court, where it was evaluated and said that for each tree cut for the metro project, there would be equivalent trees planted in Bombay itself, so that the green cover of Bombay is not impacted. So these kind of things, there are a lot of activists who are taking part in environmental issues. The government is very pro-environment. So this has been very speedily taking part, and especially with the COP in place now, a lot of environmental provenance is done in India. So we are taking a lot of due care of this currently.
And just to follow up on that, I mean, there are a lot of Indo-French initiatives in that field. I mean, if you look at the solar power, I mean, the solar, agreement between France and India. France and India are leading that solar agreement. There are some really great initiatives on the Indo-French side. And once again, for people who are interested in looking into those aspects, you know, you should get the information once again at the Indo-French Chamber of Commerce, and there are some committees that deal with that as well. So that's a great place to look into.
Thank you. I hope this answers your question, Sandrine. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I think we can now switch to part 3 of this webinar. So our speakers are going to share with you their top 3 best advice for a successful job search. So Ashley, would you like to start sharing your advice, please?
Yes, yes, I will. Thank you so much. I think this will also partly answer one of the questions that was in the chat box about what can a French person bring to India, and or at least in the Indian environment. Well, you know, one of my first advices is to be prepared. I mean, in India or elsewhere, that's paramount. Do your homework. Whatever you do, whoever you talk to, information is paramount. So get as much information as you can on the market, the segment, the company, etc. Why you are looking at the company, why you're looking at the segment, why you're looking at India, why you basically, because that's what it's all about. You know, getting the eyeballs is very, very important. Getting the attention. See the bigger picture. It's very, very important when you're in a job search to understand what is really at stake. I would like to come back on something that has been said by Ashu, for example, when she talked about the work permits, the nationalities and the work permits that are present in India. If you look at the top 3, basically it's Korea, Japan, and very, very far behind China. And China, and if you translate that or you relate that to the political situation in Asia right now, you can see that there are two major trends. One is the One Belt, One Road initiative, and the other one is the Indo-Pacific initiative. So the reason why I'm talking about that is if you are looking at India, you have to look at the bigger picture. You have to address the scope of the economy, and that will, as I said on my slide, that will bring you a lot of brownie points, and it will fuel your conversation and your narrative when you talk to your employer. Building a narrative is very, very important. Okay, honestly, India has already plenty of talent. India has a lot of talent, so it's about what can you add as far as you are concerned to the existing scenario. And there's a lot of things that you can bring to the table and you can bring to the conversation. So that's something that you need to understand and feel comfortable with. You need to engage. You need to engage. I won't go into the way we, for example, as far as EMLO India carried out operations, but I think you need to think outside the box. You need to bring, you need to think local. What is the global perspective at the local level? And you need to talk about solutions and not jobs. Once again, what are you going to bring to the table with your experience, with your story, and with your skill sets and your knowledge? Once again, broadening your skill sets and thinking hybrid is very, very, I mean, your skill sets, your thought process, and your mindset are very important when you talk about jobs. I've shared some links that you can probably look into later on. But if you look at, if you go and you look at the headhunters, websites and so on, you will see a lot, you will get a lot of information on what is important today in terms of skill sets and in terms of hybridization. India, you find a lot of people that have a hybrid approach and hybrid knowledge, basically engineers plus something, lawyers plus something. So the hybrid is the name of the game. If that's how you add value to the corporates, to your job, to the job scene, to what you can bring to the market. Pascal said it repeatedly. Ashu also said it. You need to broaden your network and have targeted interactions, gathering information and talking to the people about them, about their problems, and showing them that you can add value to their current situation. Just, I think the association, Alumni Association, will share the link, but very soon we're going to have a conclave, an Indo-French Chamber of Commerce HR conclave, where you can, if you're part of that conclave, you can meet a lot of, at least probably not meet, but you can interact with a lot of HR executives and get the pulse of what's going on right now in the Indian market in terms of workers, workplace, and work people. There are other sources of information, IFFCI, FICCI, CII, all that will be shared with you later on. I think what is important also, if you're looking at the job market today, is you have to get a good idea of what I call soft signals. I just mentioned that today, there are 83 unicorns in India listed. 83. And I'm not counting origin people. Okay, I posted on Twitter this information that was made public by a professor at Stanford. India is leading the pack in terms of unicorn creation in the United States, but there are already 83 unicorns in India. In terms of comparison, if I'm not mistaken, there are 25 in France. What are the sectors that are trending? If I can say so: e-commerce, edtech, fintech, marketplace, software as a service. So the reason why I'm mentioning that is those are the sectors that are booming, are trending, are important to look at. Those are the ones that are up and coming. Those are the ones where you can find emerging jobs as well. And that's, once again, very important for you to think ahead of the curve and think outside the box. And last but not least, I think it's very, very important. Whatever you do, don't forget, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And what I mean by that is that if you do not, once again, dive into the cultural fabric, the spiritual fabric, the political fabric, the social fabric of India, you're going to miss on the soft signals, you're going to miss on the opportunities, and you're going to you probably won't be able to leverage what you have, which is your experience, your skill sets, and your knowledge. So think about that first. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ashley. Pascal.
I will try to add something that's going to be very tough for you, Ashu. So thank you. Yes. So you have to believe in yourself, and we say that certainly, and your teacher in EM will tell you that. But it is important that you know your own value in an entrepreneur way, so that really, when you go to the market, you know what you bring to the market. So it's important for that, because, as we said, this is a big country with a lot of people. It means that Indians are used to the competition, and competition, which is 40 times bigger than in France. So they are very good, very smart, very quick. So you need to, you add something else because you are a French background. So that would be your superiority, and your openness would do the rest. So it's a challenging world, and this is the good part of it. It's very challenging to be in India. It's like in China or with other emerging countries. So never give up. Never, ever give up. I know a small entrepreneur here who have succeeded. They came to India one day and they started their business, and now the business is growing fast. But it took them quite some time, and sometimes a lot of effort to succeed. You have to be flexible, consistent, very open-minded. And it's not very easy to be open-minded when you are making big effort, but you still have to have that and a very clear goal. The culture is very strong here. It seems that because people are talking in English, I said that already, you understand each other. It's not true. The culture is totally different from the European culture. So you have to be very careful of the way you address the people and the way people will understand what you want to do. You are going to work in an environment which is totally different from France. Sometimes it's really up to the international standards, but you have the street, you have the noise, and it could put some pressure on you. So don't get that. You get used to it after a while, but at the beginning it's quite challenging. So that's part of the beauty of being in India. There's a lot of people and the outside pressure. Very important point. The country is very young. 50% of the population is less than 25, 60% less than 35. It means that a lot of competition is there, and things are changing very fast, very, very fast. So it's very nice to be here because you are going to be surrounded by young people and people who are aware of the world and changing fast. It's not like in Europe, a little bit close and not moving fast. Here it moves really, really fast. People are connected. Everyone has a smartphone. Everyone is using it to surf on internet. Everyone is using it to buy food and buy stuff. They don't shop anymore. They don't shop. They just use the smartphone for everything. So that won't be a change for you. That's what I want to say. And of course, the opportunities for me, for the French national to come to India are two big ways. First, you are an entrepreneur, you come, you set up your business, but you need to be well prepared. But we have a lot of French setup for that. We have I'm part of the French Foreign Trade Advisor, les conseillers du commerce extérieur. These are French companies who are in India, and our job is to support, to advise people for setting up a business. We have the French Chamber of Commerce, who will help you, and we have the embassy, who is as well can be supportive in any development like Business France. So it's not, we have a sort of lot of things to promote the entrepreneurship in India. But the best way, if you want to start in a company, is to start from France. And all the big companies are here, Veolia, Airbus, Salentia, and my competitors as well. So they all are looking for people to send to India. So the best way is for them to send people who know already their culture. And it's much easier to send them to India. That's the best way for you. Any question? It's maybe later.
Yeah, maybe Ashu can deliver her presentation and then we can go to the Q&A sessions.
Sure. As I think Ashley and Pascal have very clearly mentioned to us, it's selection of your city is very important, where you want to work. So depending which sector you're coming from, whether it's IT, whether it is manufacturing, whether it is some kind of aerospace activity, what you want to do, based on that, you will select your city where you need to work. So that is a very important thing, getting your city right before you come to India. Additionally, networking with our locals. The locals networking is so important. In fact, as Pascal and Ashley both mentioned, it opens up a lot of avenues. I was, in fact, want to inform you that I was advising an Irish company into packaging. And they was supplying, and they did a joint venture with an Indian company for packaging these paper bags in India. And the reason why they wanted to do the packaging, joint venture with them in India was because the Indian company was supplying to McDonald's in India, whereas this company in Ireland was trying to get to McDonald's, which was not open to them. So it's very difficult to penetrate into your customer base. I mean, what they found so difficult in Europe, they found it easier in India because there was already a company, they knew the people in McDonald's, and they got the business of McDonald's in India. So their objective was to first target through the locals, get the business in India, and thereafter in Europe, as we supply to India, we will also approach the European market. So this is another way of doing business in India when you work and interact through the locals. So networking with the locals becomes very important. Additionally, I would say as a great takeaway is your understanding and respecting the cultural differences in each country. And when you come to India, you need to just be open to enriching experiences, which will enrich your life completely. So just be open to it and you will just see, give it some time and you will just love the cultural exchanges here in India. You'll make friends for life. And this is something which I think you all guys should definitely do. So that's my take on this.
Thank you very much to the three of you. That was really, really interesting. Maybe we can just come back to the question from Mathieu. So Ashley, you partly responded it, but I would like to ask Ashu and Pascal if they want to add anything to the question, which is what's the added value that a French national could bring to India?
The added value, I mean, from the perspective, I mean, there's a lot of technical support coming from France as well to India. And they have, I mean, having a local in India gives a comfort level to the French nationals, especially if they speak they are French nationals speaking the French language. So being in a country, so I mean, since I advise in this domain, a lot of French companies, I speak French. So that comfort level of a French speaking person understanding the smaller issues and just communicating it back to the home country is something very important. So all French national, and that's something excellent for them. When they come to India, the language is a great, great benefit. I mean, once they come down to India, interacting, reporting is something which I think is a great thing for the table, bring to the table.
The French national as well, sometimes have an edge because we went through this development earlier in France. So, and India is building most of the infrastructure. So we sometimes have the experience of building what is new in India was not really new for us. So it's really an help for us sometimes to have lived that before in France so that we can bring that to India more easily.
Thank you. Ashu and Pascal. So Gaurav is asking another question. May I have the job portals slide once again? So you will be able to find the slides on the EM Lyon alumni platform just after this webinar. We will post everything, the replay of the webinar and the slides. So don't worry, you'll be able to get everything. So do you have any other questions? Feel free to open your microphone. So this is now the Q&A session. This is the last session of our webinar. So feel free to ask your questions directly to Pascal, and Ashu, and Ashley if you have any. Any questions?
Tom here.
Yes, hi Tom.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
I know you cannot see me because I cannot even see myself. Sorry, my camera is not working. I have a question about remote in India. And I was wondering, okay, with the COVID, with the, with the technology, remote work should be also a standard in India right now. And I was wondering how you managed to build, to overcome the intercultural differences and to build relationship through remote work. I mean, for me, it seems very difficult to do, but there must be ways somehow. I don't know if you get.
It's pretty much the same as anywhere else in the world. I am in an international group. We have very often, every week, some virtual meetings through Teams, and we have people from Philippines, from China, from US, from France, from Czech Republic. Everybody is used to this way to establish relationships. It depends what you want to do. If you want to build a business, of course, you cannot really build the business virtually. But if you want to interact with the people within a business, today this is like everywhere else in the world. And certainly India is very well placed in this domain. So it's not very difficult. So through the COVID, we had to work from remotely. We have to follow, in fact, we had internal rules in Savencia. But most of the people don't like very much to work from home, so they prefer to work from office, where the standards are better, the Wi-Fi, etc. most of the time. So most of them, they came back. But we live pretty much like everywhere else in the world today. So the contact are made, people are coming. For example, if you are in Delhi and you are in your car, you have to wear a mask, even though you are alone. That's the rule. So they enforce the safety of the people in that way. And it's more strict than what you may have seen in other countries of the world. So we are living with the virus today. People are certainly, they are vaccinated. Most of the people are vaccinated here. All the people in my company have been vaccinated twice. And when we are going to have the boost, we are going to help them to be vaccinated a third time. So there's no big constraints, and the nature of the relationship is totally transparent with what you may see in Europe or in Ireland today. I don't know if I answer your question, but there is no big gap there. Huh? The technology is living here, and most of it is done here.
Tom, to follow up a little bit on what Pascal has just said, I think it depends what's the starting point of the relationship. If you are in a build-up, well, obviously the digital form is complicated and it adds a pressure or constraints to the relationship. But if you're already in an established relationship, then it's I wouldn't say it's easier, but it's more comfortable. The second point I want to make is the digital platform in general. I mean, COVID or this pandemic has made any digital platform acceptable. because there was no other way to do it, you know. So what I'm trying to say is that in India and as well elsewhere, there is no divide. I mean, there's no perceived quality divide between a digital platform and an in-person meeting anymore. So perhaps that was a way to navigate this complex situation. And at the same time, I think what was important for us dealing you know in this digital space is basically to pay more attention to the soft signals, pay more attention to the body language, and pay more attention to control to the control aspects and the processes that were after and beyond the meetings.
Thank you both.
Ashu, is there anything you would like to add on this question? Or?
Nothing in particular on this question, but I just want to add the small little thing on when I was in France way back as a student. I was at the École Centrale in Paris, and we were staying there. And in Bombay, if you've been to India, you'll see we have these mom and pop stores all over the place. These small stores, they're called Kinara stores in India. You can just go across, buy whatever you need, and maybe bread, your provisions or whatever. So when I was for the first time in France, and I was really wanting to eat something like a bread or pick up something to eat, I had to walk like for miles together to find a place because there was no store around. Whereas in India, you just step out of your apartment, your building, like a 2 minutes walk, you'll have something there. So that was one big thing for me as a student when I went to France. So these are small things you learn over a period of time. So, I mean, now things are changing. So you would love it. I mean, when expats come to India, they love the whole feel in India. It's a lot of comfort in that sense.
Tom here again, just to share with you my experience in India more than 10 years ago. Traveling in India is very much time consuming, but I did force myself to travel a lot out of Delhi to different major cities in India, and because I thought that was necessary to build the required relationship in business. And I did manage to clinch a few deals just by building that relationship, even though our products and services were perhaps at the time not as good as our competitors.
Yeah, that's a great. Thank you for sharing that, Tom. I mean, I can totally relate to that because as I was saying earlier, when the school EM Lyon was looking at India, you know, there were different ways of penetrating the market, and I mean, I won't go into that today, but for those of you who are interested, I would love to share that with you guys. And it's pretty similar to what you just said. I mean, there are different ways of approaching the market. Some can, you know, add a lot of value and be less time consuming and be very, very rewarding as well.
Yes. Thanks again.
Is there any other questions from our audience today? No. Okay, so I just would like to share with you the information of the upcoming event that Ashley referred to earlier on. It's an online event, online events on the topics of human resources organized by the Indian French Chamber of Commerce, and EM Lyon is a knowledge partner of this event. So I shared in the chat box earlier the registration link. Feel free to register or to have a look at the website of this event. I'm sure it will be a very useful and interesting one. So if there is a last question, we have time. If you don't have any other questions, I would like to thank warmly again our three speakers today, Pascal, Ashu, and Ashley. So thank you very much for taking time to do this webinar with the EM Lyon alumni team. And we were very honored of your presence today, and thank you very much for sharing your knowledge of and experience of India with our students and alumni. And thank you very much to everyone who participated to this event today. We hope to see you on our next webinar. So Nassima, if you can just share the dates and the countries of our next dates. So our next webinar will be dedicated to employment in Japan and will take place in 1 month's time. So feel free to register to these upcoming events. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And goodbye.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Ashley. Bye.
Have a great